Tennessee Justice Center here in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you to everyone who's able to participate and who is participating. We've got a special treat for you this morning. Two incredibly wise and experienced mothers, Lisa Hammett and Michelle Fardan, are here with us, in addition to myself here from Nashville. Our goal this morning is to help you advocate for healthcare by turning your stories into change. And we've got really excited this morning to get this started. This is a follow-up from our Mothers Focus group back from May, where we had about 40 mothers come together to talk about what their experiences in healthcare, what it meant to achieve healthcare, the challenges they had to endure. And we really learned a lot from that experience. With what has healthcare access been for mothers here in Tennessee, all across the state. And from that, there are really three main concerns that we've heard from mothers through our focus group that we wanted to help bring in what we call experts to help us follow up with. The first is the anxiety of the healthcare experience, whether that's dealing with hidden costs, transportation costs, the concern of working to get your child healthcare and not having an opportunity at all to maybe advance, to go forward in your career, having that coverage and then still not being able to go forward and afford the familial necessities. That's a real concern for a lot of mothers. And it's something that we know that we collectively can fight for. So we wanted to just put that out as really our number one issue facing us today. The second was fear. So much that TennCare asks us to do, whether it's paperwork or any other kind of administrative hurdle, there is so much to navigate, feeling like you're alone, like you don't have help. It has just created a sense of feeling unable or struggling to just get things right. And with that is the frustration with misinformation, difficulty renewable, the jargon, the language, how TennCare speaks to you. And then when that whole process is done, the feelings of anger that can come about. We brought in two special advocates for healthcare because they've dealt with these things too. And we're going to start with Lisa Hammett. Lisa's done an incredible job, has an incredible story, and I'll let her speak more about it. But she really, I think, in the very best of ways, has figured out a way to navigate all of these very difficult situations, and through incredible odds has persevered and has really, she's been awarded, recognized for all of her work, her creativity. And I just want to give a moment to feature Miss Lisa Hammett as she talks about her experience with her daughter.
Thank you, Austin. I suppose this is my cue. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for making the time to be here. As Austin said, I'm Lisa Hammett. I'm a single mother of a 25-year-old daughter. She's shown in these pictures here, probably about 2 years ago. That picture on the left was taken. She has autism, moderately severe autism, intellectual disabilities, severe speech language disorder. And what that means is at 25 years old, she still doesn't really carry on a conversation. She has limited language. She functions anywhere from language-wise, a preschooler, to, I'm sure those of you with teenagers can relate, a 16-year-old with TOOD, and all packaged in the body of a 25-year-old woman. But despite these challenges, she's a successful artist. I discovered her art ability when she was 4 years old. I found teachers and therapists for her, and she's owned her own business selling her art around the country since she was 12 years old and was featured on The View. So in the 10 to 15 minutes I'm talking with you today, I want you to, those who are listening this, to remember the trash can method of listening. And that, what I mean by that is that if something rings your bell and speaks truth to you, embrace it, take it with you, embody that. If something I say does not speak to you, then throw it in the trash can and leave it there. Because I'll be speaking from my life experience. And the thing is, we all have a lot in common. It's called humanity, the fact that we're human beings. We may look different, we may speak differently, we may live in different parts of Nashville, have different backgrounds, but we have more in common than not. We have the commonality. The thing we have in common is the human experience. And what that means that we all have difficulties. We all have challenges. We all have hurdles. And not one of us gets a pass in life, on challenges. But what we can do with those challenges, what I found in my life is I can choose to be a doormat and roll over, be stepped on. I can give up, or I can take on those challenges and make a difference for ourselves, myself and my daughter, and in the lives of other families and their children and loved ones. So I was always what I call a flag waver. Give me a cause and I'll wave a flag for it. By nature of my personality, I'm a champion for the underdog. But the biggest flag that I have ever been given to wave, and the greatest underdog, became my daughter with her diagnosis of autism 22 years ago. And then it became a journey of helping not only her, but others like her with disabilities. So like you, with all these challenges that Austin laid out so beautifully, I wish I had seen that in preparation for my speech. I might have modified things a little bit, but we all have these challenges. I've had to fight with a child with a disability, and I'm sure that you have your struggles with school systems, insurance systems, programs. That I started saying early on in Grace's journey and our journey with autism is that sometimes these systems, i.e. TennCare in this case, that are supposed to serve us actually end up wounding us. So in light of what Austin presented, I kind of want to look at things from how do we make it a game changer? How do we take care of ourselves and build in self-care, whatever that looks like? It may be, sitting down for a cup of coffee one day if you can, or a cup of tea, or talking to a friend. Those ways to build ourselves up for these challenges that we have with this system. So I want to go back to what I said a moment ago about what we all have in common by the simple fact that we are human beings living this life. I used to work as a reporter, and in the 90s, I wrote a magazine series of individuals living across the United States who were trying to make a difference in the crisis that we saw in the second wave of the environmental movement. We're now on our third, and we really are at a crisis. What they tried to do to make a difference about that. And I interviewed this woman who, many of the interviews really stuck with me. So I kept them from going into the trash can in my memory. And one was of this woman in Alabama, where she got together the townspeople, and they went and they sat down with the executives of the chemical company that was polluting their water. I mean, it was so bad. There were people dying of cancer, similar forms of cancer, and the water was running milky white, and it was bad, but it was very changing, very life-changing. And I've always remembered, that act of sitting down with the executives, them seeing the executives as humans, the executives seeing them. I've always thought that is a model for us when we take on systems that aren't working for us. So what happened is that the townspeople got to see those executives as fathers and as mothers and as grandparents, as human beings with their real lives and real problems. Now hang with me here on this, because I know that some of this is like, yeah, right, but hang on. I've had some experience doing this, and there's ways we can go about it. So then the executives got to see, hey, how what their decisions were impacting. And I mean, how many times can we look around the world today and think, gosh, only if people could see the impact of their decisions, and also that could we see the people that we demonize as humans, and maybe look at them a little bit different. So raising a daughter with a disability in the metro school system, I learned that things went best for me when I applied the simple golden rule of life. You know, every religion in the world has a version of the golden rule. If I treated people like I wanted to be treated. And to this day, I see advocates or people that call themselves advocates railing at the system, spitting at the systems. And now, do you think those systems are going to want to be kind to them? So, you know, unfortunately, a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, said sometimes we have to play the ingratiating special education parent in my situation. I'm going to talk about that in a minute with a liver sandwich. I've got all these little analogies today. So what does all this in my experience have to do with TennCare? You know, most likely the most of us are not going to be sitting down with executives at TennCare, but it is possible. You know, these people decide our fate, but can we remember that there's human beings? I see people in TennCare and I wonder what's going on in that person's life that they are making these decisions. Is it personal about me? You know, what are they going through? So just trying to see that other perspective, the other side of the story. So speaking of, you know, we may not sit down face to face, but we may have opportunities to tell our story. You know, I used to really be diligent about this when I started my journey with my daughter's autism. I would tell anybody, some person in the grocery store, our story. I use Facebook now, and it surprises me the impact of telling our story has on people. And there's a lot of attention right now to the art of telling stories. You know, we're in a time of a lot of fakeness, a lot of fraud, a lot of, you know, making things look perfect. But when we get down to it and just share what's really going on with our lives, how decisions, for instance, are impacting us, sometimes hearts can change from those stories. You know, when we write a letter, when we talk to a group of people, when we share to people we meet our story. So my struggles with TennCare started when my daughter was 22. And TennCare began a program that for the first time would support individuals that function with more severe challenges like my daughter to be employed. And for 3 years now, she has worked at TJ Maxx. She has to have a job coach 24/7. And before this the 9 hours a week that she's there, if without this program, she would not have been able to do it. The standard line to my daughter, in fact, they tried to say this before, you know, the authorities even realized this program was coming down the pike, that she's too disabled. So I had to fight extra hard with other systems to make sure they understood that they could no longer deny my daughter these rights to employment. So I used to say that program, ECF Choices, Employment Community First Choices program, rolled out with 3 flat tires. You know, TennCare is a big system, a big bureaucratic system. And, but I knew that I couldn't just be a doormat. I couldn't just roll over. I couldn't just complain. And how many people do we know who just make a hobby of complaining? And where does that get them? I had to take action. So I started a Facebook group of other parents, a little private group, whose sons and daughters were in this program. we talked about our concerns. We made a list of those concerns, and then we organized a small group of parents to go meet with TennCare. We took them 15 to 25 letters from other families about what wasn't working for them in the program. We organized the letters by issues, and we took turns in we took turns in going around the table talking about these issues. We left the letters with them. We asked them what they could do, and we listened to them. We gave them that face-to-face story of the impact of their decisions in their program, the way the program was. And we followed up, and we've continued to follow up by attending meetings, continuing to bring concerns to their attention at stakeholder meetings, at one-on-one meetings that we have. And we won some things. And some things still haven't changed, but we are still working on that. The small cadre of people and advocates that I now work with. So, you know what else we did? We made liver sandwiches. I mentioned that a moment ago. We sat down at that meeting and we gave a nice piece of bread. We spread artisan mustard on it, and laid on some nice lettuce and a tomato. And then we plopped the liver down, the hard things to hear, the things about what's not working. It's too much of the time advocates come in angry, and they've turned their audience off at that point, and they slap down the ugly, yucky piece of liver, and they haven't dressed it up between two pieces of bread. It makes it more palatable. It makes it more edible to hear difficult information. So we praise them with that first piece of metaphorical bread, about, the things that were working and the things that we were grateful. We delivered the difficult message, and then we put another nice piece of bread on top of it and thanked them. And we got them to listen to us. And we were sincere. I'm not talking about BSing people. I'm talking about, come on, we can all find something that is working. We can all find something that is grateful. Maybe it's that you like the dress of the person that you're meeting with, but nothing insincere, but something to connect with and find that commonality and help open that other person up to hearing that. So, and really it's how we want people to treat us when they deliver bad news. Austin, I'm almost finished here. So, those efforts, the Facebook groups and the TennCare meeting led to a part-time job that I was in the last 2 years, working with organizations like TennCare's and with families impacted by those programs. And now I'm in another part-time job where, because the other one has ended, where I just work with those organizations like TennCare, forming and nurturing those human-to-human, face-to-face relationships so that the people that they serve, that their voices can be heard. So, you are here today because you've been especially chosen to, because of your leadership. And true leadership is not about me and my. Now, me and my do have to come first, no matter what anybody says. We have to take care of your well, fill your well, solidify the platform, make sure that you are taken care of, that your needs and your loved ones' needs are met. That comes first. But a true leader goes beyond that when they're able. There's some seasons that we're able to, and some seasons we're not. We do the best that we can at any given time, ideally. So we can make TennCare a better place for ourselves, and by remembering those who sit alongside us, those human beings like us that have those same problems like ours and that are different from ours. And I have found, and other people will, and maybe you have also experienced, that when you give back, you get more to yourself. Service is very fulfilling and very rewarding. Thank you for listening to my story. And I don't know if there's a Q&A time or if there's people here to do Q&A, but I'm willing to do that.
I actually just got a question from L. Snowder, and it says here, this is for you, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, you mentioned ways to build yourself up. What are some of those ways that you have built yourself up in all your work with Grace?
Okay. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is just some personal circumstances that I'm going through. And I realized this past weekend, oh yeah, I need to be compassionate with myself. Let's acknowledge that what we're doing is tough. Living is tough. But we're fighting some big battles. So have compassion to myself. And what does compassion look like? It's telling myself, you're doing a good job, filling myself with positive thoughts. I had to start my day like that, reminding myself, of the positive things. And, what can I be grateful for when I'm down in the dumps, especially? I had a great cup of tea this morning. There's sunshine today. Somebody said something nice to me. Somebody smiled. Someone helped me. It fills my heart well of gratitude. And then I'll look at every day, what is my body telling me? Because we've got to take care of ourselves in order to take care of our loved ones. Some people joke about it. Self-care is not just bottles of champagne and bubble baths, but hey, I'll take a bubble bath, I'll take a cup of coffee or maybe occasional glass of red wine or whatever. But, eating well, making sure I get sunshine, fresh air, some exercise. It may only be 10 minutes around the block. A date with a friend or a loved one, maybe once a month. It doesn't have to be what we would consider abundant and all the time, but when can we work these things in to take care of our bodies, our minds, our spirits? That may look like attending some kind of spiritual faith community. I take time in the morning to meditate for 5 minutes. That's no rock star meditation period there, but that's what I can work in. It might be 5 minutes of yoga. I read a meditation every morning. There's a lot of free stuff on the internet and YouTube. But just making sure that kind of, like that wheel analogy, we're complex beings. And so have I eaten well? Have I slept well? How can I, have I gotten outside? Have I exercised? Have I filled my spirit? Am I getting my emotional connections? All these things are important to help us function. They're our basis and our platform to go out and give. We can't give cups of water if our own well is not full and taken care of first. Does that help?
Yes, I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. Our second question is from Jennifer Mays Lisa. Jennifer asks, what has been the most rewarding part of having Grace go to work? I believe Jennifer has a special needs child, not that has autism, but what have you found has been the benefits of Grace having employment at TJ Maxx?
I think it's just, there's many benefits, but it's leveling the playing field. People with disabilities want to work. Now, I'm not saying everyone, but, it's the equalizing the playing field. The trajectory, the future of individuals like myself and my daughter before this program came along is that they got out of school when they were 22 because she could go until she was 22 with her level of disabilities. And she got job training there, but there was not employers or there wasn't the people to support them on jobs. So they would sit on the sofa. Mom couldn't work because mom was having to take care of, their son or daughter. And they developed mental illness. I mean, if you've gone from a busy life in school for 22 years, or nearly 22 years, and all of a sudden you've got nothing to do but sit on the sofa and watch television, and the system paid more when those issues helped. So it was equalizing the playing field. She has community. They're good to her. She makes a competitive wage. She loves to work. She loves contributing. She works in the back room. it's, you know, she's very satisfied with unpacking clothing. It doesn't really matter as long as she's happy doing it and she gets to, you know, be a contributing part of society. And then of course it helps me that I wouldn't be able to I would have met Austin probably and be doing this job if I hadn't have had the support for her to do that, to work. And so, you know, if you've got a little one, you know, just aim high. You don't know, you can't see the forest through the trees about what their potential is. I had to remind myself, I don't know what my daughter will be like for 2 years because I'm looking at, you know, supported independent living. I have to remind myself she's going to continue to mature. She matures differently. So, you know, dream big.
That's a really inspiring story, Lisa. Thank you so much for sharing. Look at our question tracker. Do I have any more questions? Does anyone have any more questions for us? It doesn't look like it. But Lisa, thank you so much for sharing about you and Grace. I know I feel encouraged after that, and I'm sure the mothers here and the mothers that will join later will also feel that encouragement. So was there anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, I just thank you, Austin, for I'm honored for you to choose me to speak. I'm honored to choose to speak with the mothers. Thank you very much for your questions. I didn't know if I was speaking to a computer screen in Austin, just Austin, but thank you for listening. Thank you for your questions, and carry forth, carry on. You've got this. And, you know, TJC knows you've got this because you were chosen to be at this seminar. And if it's okay with you, Austin, now I've got other life pressing on me. I will sign out, but good luck, folks, and thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Have a great day. Thank you so much for sharing.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Ladies, I want to thank you and thank Lisa for that effort. Our next speaker is Michelle Fardin. Michelle is really a phenomenal woman of faith, a phenomenal woman of character, and I'm going to let her share her story. But I'm just going to say that I have personally been touched by Michelle's journey, her healthcare experience. She has endured things that no mother should have to endure, but the hope, the compassion, the conviction she brings to all that she has done is inspiring. I know it will inspire and touch you. Without any further ado, I know we don't have applause here online, but I want you to welcome Miss Michelle Fardin. Michelle, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, take it away, Miss.
Thank you, Austin. And I will have to give Lisa again to thank her for her story. I've never heard her story before, but it was very encouraging. And we can all gain some knowledge from what she shared on how we can approach our legislators and people who can make changes. I'm not, I don't know everybody's story that's on the line, other than I know that there are mothers and that everyone has a story. And my goal for speaking is so that the powers that be, the ones who are in control or, have the control to make changes with the laws, and to enforce or to implement laws that are there, that could hear the stories and not just hear with their ears, but hear with their hearts, so that they can be moved to do what is necessary. My daughter was born in 76, and I was a single mother. And at that time, they had what they call families first. And so being in the system with that, um, basically all her healthcare needs were being met. She got all her immunizations and things of that nature. And whenever it was time to go, we went. Um, but then a time came where she was turning um, 18, and I told her, I said, well, make sure you get everything done that needs to be done. You get your glasses, get your dental work, get your physicals, whatever needs to be done, because after that, then, we won't be on TennCare anymore. We won't have that, or families first in place. So, Monica, that's her name, Monica, um, she um, went to school. She went away to college, and I have to be honest, right at this moment, I don't even remember what her major was, and I'm not sure if she really had one. But she went for a little while to college, and then she decided that that's not what she wanted to do. Then she got a job in the corporate world in banking and worked. And with her job, she had health insurance. During this time, it was discovered that she had um, asthma, and because she had allergies and things. And I was aware of the allergies, but they weren't that bad. I knew that she was allergic to dust and different grasses and things of that nature, but it was never so bad that she had to have an EpiPen or inhaler or anything of that nature. But we were aware of it. But as time went on, and I raised my children to eat healthy. I eat healthy, and that's where. But sometimes when they get grown, they do their own thing and eat however they want and whatever. That's what they do. But so as she got older, her allergies got worse, and that's when she was diagnosed with asthma. At that time, she did have health care through her job, and she had an inhaler. And then actually, sometimes she couldn't even afford the inhaler because of the co-pays or there's the cost of the inhaler itself. But she made do, and did the best she could. So fast forward, as time went on, her job was a very stressful job, and she decided to go after going to the doctors and finding out there was nothing wrong with her physically, that her job was the stressor that she needed to get away from. So she decided that she would pursue her passion. And so that meant leaving the corporate world. And then she was doing something where she no longer had the health care insurance. This passion required her to travel, and she had a mentor who was in the industry that she was interested in, and they were working, and she was working on her dreams and goals and doing things that she enjoyed. She had no longer had the stress that she once had. Wasn't making a lot of money, but she was happy. And one year she was living in, well, she moved to Atlanta at one time and doing this career. And then she was impressed to come back to Nashville, where she got a job in the industry and made a lot of contacts. And then she decided, oh, I need to be in California, LA to be exact, where the industry was. And her mentor was there. And so she learned a lot while she was there. And then while she was there, she decided she'd come back home. And she said, Mom, can I come back and stay with you while I work on um, my project? So I said, sure. So she moved back to Nashville. And I'm thankful that she was here during that time. And we had a lot of time together. Um, I noticed that she always had um, not a cough, but something with her respiratory system. I mean, it was something that was always there, but it was not anything that we were really alarmed about. And it was just a part of her clearing her throat. That's what she was always doing, clearing her throat. She went on a trip to visit a friend. She did a lot of things during that time that she didn't get a chance to do because she felt free while she was working on her projects. One visit that she was visiting some friends, she stepped off the sidewalk and she broke her toe. And I remember her calling me and saying, "Mama, I had a freak accident and I broke my toe. I think I broke my toe." When she went to the ER to see about it, remind you that she did not have insurance. And, but she, had money to go and see the emergency, I guess, and get whatever they did for her, and went on her merry way. And she continued to work on her project, and traveled and all, and, and she was just doing her thing. And finally, she started developing more of a clearing throat and her breathing a little bit. When in hindsight is 2020, but still not thinking much about it because at this time she actually was more overweight than she had been, and she was working on losing weight and trying to get back on eating healthier and exercising and doing the things that she knew that she could do for herself. She didn't go to a doctor because of her lack of insurance. Not really concerned about what was going on. She kind of self-medicated and got her Motrin for any pain that she had. I'm not being aware of really what she was dealing with. But we had made a decision because of the healthcare situation in Tennessee that we would move to California because of her allergy, she could breathe better there. The time that she spent in California, she loved it. It's free. The air, there was not a lot of pollen in the air and things like there are in Tennessee. And so she asked me she said, "Mom, let's go to California." And so I said, "Sure, I'm ready for a change. Healthcare is different there, and I really love it in California." So that's the plans we made. 2014, my lease where I was living at the time was set to be ending in, I think it was March. We had new owners that come to our complex, and they decided to, for whatever reason, they instead of ending the lease that I had, they actually extended it until the end of May. So I said, okay, well, I just have a little more time and I don't mind doing that. So in the meantime, I was working like a Hebrew slave. I call it because of the hours I was working, and I really didn't have much time for myself. I was just worked the nights and all kinds of hours. I actually was taking care of a child who was like a child of mine, the family. She had special needs, and I worked with her, so I know firsthand how it is working with someone who has special needs. She needed everything, and without me being there to help her and the other caregivers, her mother would not have been able to work and do the things that she was able to do. And so I had made a decision to go, and I remember the mother of the person I was taking care of not wanting to go, me to go, and said, "I'm going to move to California with you." And I said, "Well, you'll be in good hands." And I was just ready to move on. I was ready for a new chapter and in my life, and I was open to it. there was no reason for me to have to stay here. And so we made plans. I trained new people to take my place. I did everything I need to do. I sold all my furniture in the apartment. Um, Monique actually put it on Craigslist, and we had an indoor flea market, and people came, and so I sold everything. And the only thing I did was put clothing, winter clothing, because this is in the summertime, winter clothing, and some of my dishes and things away, because we said once we get to California, then we'll decide where we want to live and, buy a home and do whatever we need to do once we got there. And the things were supposed to be in storage for about 3 months at the most, to um, and just to be there until we decided what we were going to do. By this time, my daughter's conversation was a little bit different, but I didn't think much about it until later on. Um, she was talking about what I could do once I got there, and I'm thinking, why is she talking like that? Because we're going to be together. But then I thought, well, she's grown. She wants to have her own life, and I'll have mine, and that's the way I took it like that. But I think she realized something was going on, and she didn't tell me about it. Excuse me.
Sorry, Michelle, take your time. Take your time.
So we were supposed to, excuse me, move out of the apartment at the end of, actually, it was the end of um, June when we were supposed to be out. And I remember it seemed like it took forever to get everything done. And I kept wondering, why was it taking us so long to get out, get situated? I had put things in storage and trying to get cleaned up and vacuum the floor and just leave the place decent because I want my deposit back. And I remember Monique telling me, just call the office and let them know that your daughter is sick, that she's had bronchitis in the past, and it's taken us longer to move out and give us time. So they did. And on July the 3rd, we finally were getting out of there, and I had things in the car. School was out, so it was supposed to be a fun trip across the country and celebrate the 4th of July. And I was taking my grandchildren with me, and my son was out of school. And we were planning to just have a new life somewhere else where they had health care, insurance for everybody, and just have a new life. And that's when my life really changed. While I was at Walmart with my son getting something for the trip, my other daughter called me and said Monica's uh, fell out, and she didn't really know it was when we called 911, and the ambulance is coming to get her. So I told my son to stop, put everything back. We're not going anywhere. So I had the things in my car, and I went straight to the apartment, and I saw her, and she was fine. And I asked them where they were taking her, and they told me, and I said I'll be there. So as possible, my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, went with her, and we're still trying to do the final touches of getting out of the apartment. I turned in the key, took the rest of the stuff to a hotel room to empty out the car. I called her, and communicating all the time in my on the phone talking to my daughter and my granddaughter. They did fine. And I said, Monique, I got a room, so, and got everything out the car. We'll be there shortly. So we can just rest when they release you, and then we can go on, pursue our trip. And she was fine before I got out. Everything, the last bit, then my granddaughter called me and said, come quick. And I grabbed things and come on, and I said, let's go. And I traveled on the interstate. It was close by, not too far from the hospital. That was planned on purpose because I was looking forward to her being released. And they were talking to her about a plan of returning and follow up visit. And when I got there, she was already gone.
Michelle, I want you to know at this point, there have been several messages of just support. Zuleika Abedi says, you must be so strong. Thank you for sharing this. Ms. Tiandria Bailey says the same sentiment. I know for all of our mothers who are wondering, you can comment in the the text feature there. But wow.
So what got me here was shortly after that, I realized we wasn't going anywhere. And that's another whole story. But I met the people at TJC at a health fair. And they were trying to sign people up for TennCare. And that's where I met the staff at TJC. And I shared my story because I was still in the daze. She died July the 3rd. And the health fair was, I think, in September, just a few months later. And I was still in a daze. And I just told my daughter just died. And I told her what happened. And she told me she was in the gap, and I didn't even know what the gap was. And she asked me, would I be willing to speak? And I've been speaking ever since. Whenever I get the opportunity, someone invites me, I speak because it was a simple thing that could have been taken care of. I know that Lanika didn't want to make any bills and things, but I wish she had just gone on. But anyway, I had to really dig deep with myself. She was the one that was most outspoken. And, you know, I was her biggest cheerleader and all, and behind the scenes, and that's where I chose to work. But since this tragedy has happened, it has taken me out of my comfort zone. And I speak because I don't want anybody else to have to go through this. I try to take care of myself. I've gained weight. Instead of losing, I've gained weight, and my weight's gone up and down. Thank God because I try to have weight, take care of myself. I don't have things that most people my age have. I don't even take medication because I don't need it, and I'm thankful for that. But I know so many people who need the medication that can't afford it. I have patients who have struggled with it because they didn't know whether they should take medication or eat, pay a bill. There's a lot of anxiety that goes along with you're already taking care of someone with special needs, And society is not always kind. The people who are in place who are not always kind or caring. And when you have a lot of paperwork to deal with, people, want everything but your blood type and your stool and sample and all that. It makes people feel very intimidated sometimes when you do ask for help. Everybody needs a helping hand sometimes. And I feel like healthcare is some basic that everyone should have. No one should have to worry about what I can apply if I qualify and all that foolishness. And here we are in this country. And of course, we're talking about the state of Tennessee, but there are other states in the same situation where we don't value human life as much as we should. And I feel like, people with animals that are not an animal hater or anything like that. I've had a lot of animals that I grew up with, pets and everything. But I feel like if people march and do everything for animals, surely they can do it for innocent children, the most vulnerable people who need health care. No one should be penalized because of their lack of income or their status or whatever that is. I just feel like the laws should need to be changed and put aside our differences, politics, and all that. It has no place when it comes to basic needs that people have. Healthcare, if you have basic things for preventers while they're growing up and just continue it instead of cutting things off. Make things affordable. Medications are just ridiculous, outrageously ridiculous. How much they charge just because they can. And a lot of it is not even good for them anyway, the side effects and things that people deal with. And that's another story, but I've seen it all. And it bothers me. And it does make you angry. But, I want to change that. I want to see people change their anger and use that energy, first of all, to know the rules and play to win. Focus on what we can do as a group. Mothers fight for their babies. You don't want to mess with the mother's baby. In the animal kingdom, you don't mess with the babies. We're the same. We're more than just animals. We are human beings created in the image of God. And we have to fight for our babies. And I appreciate the story that Lisa shared because we have to do something. We can't just sit down. And every time I talk about this, here is another year that the legislation will be coming together. And I'm so tired of the voting down no and putting these things in place that don't work. The money, we have more than enough in this country. We just have to use it wisely, spend it wisely, and put it where it's really needed. Because everybody's affected one way or the other. I just thank you for allowing me this time to share. I have my times. I try to focus on not me so much. I facilitate a grief share group. Um, we're taking a break right now, and we won't start back until January. It can be overwhelming sometimes when you hear other people what they go through, because when you're dealing with grief, it's one thing, but when you have other things that go along with it, it makes your grief harder. And every time this time of year comes around, when the legislators are coming together to vote, it makes me grieve even more. It brings back all that. I don't want all our work and everything to be in vain. I want us to continue, and that's why I will do it. I will continue speaking as much as I can, and I feel like, we have to use whatever avenues are there. We have the freedom of speech. Use that. Um, we like I said, know the rules of the game and play to win. It's a win-win situation. It's not us and them. We all benefit. And I just want us to, I feel like this is a good forum for us to come together, because I know it's difficult. Everybody can't just come out, with your loved ones, your children that you're caring for. It's not always easy, especially when the weather is ugly. It's not favorable. And the crowds and everything, we have to protect them in that way. But we can always meet um, online and have discussion. And then, those who are able to get out, just get out there and meet with the people that we can meet with and do whatever we have to do. So thank you for your time. And I hope that I've said something, I don't know what, but I just shared my story because I want you to know that you don't always have to be the most outspoken or whatever, but whatever it is that your motive is to make sure that your child's health care is taken care of. That's enough right there. And I'm just thankful for this opportunity. You never know what you're gonna be doing, but I do it. Uh, and the tears are real, and I can't. They're just there. If anyone has any questions or anything, I welcome them. I just thank you again for this opportunity to share. And I hope you all have a blessed rest of the day and holidays coming up.
Michelle, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I think the give me 1 second. I have to get the sort of conference line back.
Okay. I didn't realize that. So, I went over time.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. Let me give me the conference line back. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yes, hi everyone. We apologies, we had a technical difficulty here at TJC, but Michelle is still here. Thank you all who are with us. And Michelle, no, if you feel free to continue.
I just wanted to say thank you again for the opportunity to share. Um, the grief is real. I'm it, when I speak, it gives me an opportunity to get up out of the bed when I don't feel like it, and get myself together. It's not always about me. I try to take care of myself. I encourage others to take care of themselves. I don't know if you heard me before that I do facilitate a grief share group, and that helps me because it helped me when I went through grief share. Um, I encourage others in the grief share to find a cause of something that their loved one may be connected to help in honor of them, to get outside of yourself, to let them know that grief is real, and they are grieving, to understand their grief and what they're going through. Um, and so I sometimes you get ambushed, what I call it. You don't know when those tears are going to flow, but it's okay. Um, Even if you haven't lost a loved one, you still may grieve because of what you're dealing with. You feel like you're all alone, but you're not. You feel that way because you know, always have the support that you need. Um, Sometimes you do, but oftentimes you don't. Um, until a person actually gets in that situation, they don't have a clue what you're dealing with. And um, I just want this to be, I guess, a regular or medium that we can use to connect with people, to bring our ideas together, for encouragement. I like the idea that Lisa has that Facebook page to connect with people because we all need support, you know. And I also want to encourage everyone to um, take care of yourselves because it can wear you out, as you probably already experienced some of that. Um, Connect with whoever you can connect with that's positive. Try to be around people who are positive and encouraging, letting you know, yes, we can do this. And you know, sometimes you need a helping hand. I remember um, when there was something I couldn't do for myself, but someone said, "What can I do for you?" So if someone asks you what they can do for you, take them up on it. Don't be afraid to ask for help from those who really say, "I can help you." You know, what can I do to help? Give you relief, respite care, whatever it is. I don't know, but um, it's important. You know, no man is an island. No one stands alone, even though you feel it. But sometimes, you know, it's okay to accept help from people who really are genuinely caring and really want to help, but they may not know what you need. So I'd say write down the things that you need. And then when someone asks, and say, yeah, I could use blah, 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 whatever that is, you know, whatever that is, um, because they don't know how to help unless you tell them how. If they're able to, if they're not able to, they may know someone else who can do it, you know. Um, and you have to take care of yourself. And sometimes sleep is one of the things that really you lack. Sleep is so important. Um, and I didn't have a whole lot more to say really, other than I'm just thankful for the opportunity. I you know, really like to talk about her in general, the type of person that she was. She was a giving person. She was always a person who was an advocate for the underdog. You know, was like that in school, always taking up for others, speaking up for others. And so this is one reason why I have to speak in honor of her, but, you know, just the way I feel. The people um, need people to speak up for them sometimes. And whatever way we need to do it. And I just want to thank everybody for your time. I know you have things to do, and I appreciate it and the opportunity to share. And I hope that um, it gave you some ideas of what you can do as a group.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I want to ask if we have any questions. I have one in my queue. Do I have any other questions for Michelle? This one, Michelle, is from Tiandria Bailey. Um, Tiandria says, I appreciate your enthusiasm and thank you for sharing. What do you feel has been easiest about speaking? This is, what do you feel has been easiest about speaking? Um, that's from Tiandria Bailey. Tiandria says, yeah, what do you feel has been, oh, she said, I'm sorry. hardest, I'm sorry, yeah, she corrected me. What do you feel like has been the hardest part about speaking about your journey?
The hardest part is, I guess, reliving what actually happened to Monica.
Mhm.
Um, I think that, but I that's the only thing I can think of. That's the hardest part. But other than that, I feel compelled each time. I feel like when I had the opportunity, when I had the invitation, that it's like, yes, I have to do it. No matter how hard it is. Sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes you have to get out of your comfort zone. And if the tears flow, I just let them flow. You just do what you have to do, because you have to release that, and then and just continue telling the story, because I want people to know that this is real. I'm sure that there are other people who are experienced. I don't know them, but I know people who are dealing with things that potentially will take their lives if they don't get what they need. And it's so unfair when there could be something done about it. So I appreciate your question. That is the hardest part when I think about. Um, I've shared in my speeches that to me it's like another form of mass murder when you say no to extending the health care. It's healthcare is too expensive. It's not always the cost; it's the lives that are lost needlessly. She was a productive citizen. She was a good citizen. She didn't cause any problems to society or anything like that. You know, she was trying to make a difference in her world, to share with others. She had her goals and dreams. She was a young lady. She didn't get a chance to marry or have children. Um, those were things that she wanted to do at some point in time, and she was focused on her career. She loved her nieces and her brother and sister. She was my firstborn, and I miss her. I miss her. That's not going to ever go away. My life is not the same. Um, and she had a lot of friends. She made everyone feel like they were the only friend. She was that type of person. She made friends everywhere she went. Um, just a really nice human being, a nice person to get to know. Thank you for your question.
Do you have any other questions? Doesn't look like it. Um, so
I will
Michelle,
say, I
yeah.
will say this. I will say that knowing that, the purpose of my speaking is to help make a difference by sharing my story, and that I'm speaking for on behalf of other people who can't speak. Also knowing that I have the support of TJC and others, that helps so much, so much. I've met some wonderful people I would have never met, um, as a result of losing my daughter. And, so it just makes it all worthwhile. That's the only way I could look at it, really.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We really appreciate your taking the time to speak. For those of you who want to take Michelle's story and that inspiration and wonder what can you do next, that is what we've come here for today. And both Michelle and Lisa are tremendously powerful, impacted ladies. And each of you who are here has been chosen because you have a commitment to healthcare. You have a passion for making sure that your children have opportunities that they otherwise might not have had. And if you all believe, like we do, that health is wealth, then stay with us here. We are almost done, 11:18. We're just going to go through a few quick minutes. What you can do going forward. This is the follow-up from the focus group that we had earlier, with what you can do going forward, being inspired, knowing that you can make a difference. We're going to go through this very briefly, and then TJC will be back with more follow-up. So just want to thank each of you mothers who are here. So grateful for both of our speakers who have been inspirational to myself personally, and to now say, how can we build a collective movement with the passion that we currently have? One of my favorite sayings is that elections have consequences. Every challenge that Lisa and Michelle have dealt with, in a lot of ways is devastating, because these are not issues that men do not have any say-so about. This is not climate change. This is not a meteor. This is not an asteroid. This is not an earthquake. These challenges that we are dealing with in terms of healthcare access are issues that we have an opportunity to change. So when it comes to meeting with representatives, this is such an important position. These legislators, both here in Tennessee and across the state, have the ability to make a difference. And the number one way they actually change their beliefs, their ideas, what they're going to do is by storytelling and relationships. So when Michelle tells her story, or one of you speak about what your healthcare challenge is, that story is the genesis of change. And I know it may seem like it's difficult. It is like it's just an individual, one little individual need. But taking that story to your representatives, it does work. We've seen it happen time after time over years upon years. There's a Katie Beckett waiver that just passed that allowed children like Grace, who is Lisa's daughter, to be covered under TennCare. Worked 100% because families who have children with special needs and disabilities told the story of what it was like to try and care for their children and keep their families together. Tremendously powerful stories that have a lot of persuasion. Each of you has a power in just your story. In the same way that Lisa and Michelle have moved us all deeply, you have the ability, you have the power to make a change with your story. Sharing with I statements, focusing on the heart, the genuine hardship, everything that you spoke about in the focus group, in terms of challenge, in terms of difficulty, all of those things are what indeed make your story unique and make it incredibly human. And you'll be able to overcome those challenges with just a little support. That's sort of that's the bridge. Challenge, support needed, outcome. In that middle piece, the support that's needed, that's what we need our legislators to focus on, where they, through their actions, can make a difference for real working class families. That's why anybody goes through all the trouble of running for office. If you forget about all the power and the pageantry, and the purpose of having that is to help people. And it's only through stories that we get to that space. So we want to encourage each of you, We're going to have a follow-up meeting about representation. How do you meet with representatives? But we want to present that as an opportunity to meet in terms of how do you take this experience and create it into motion. Michelle has a story that's very similar to Robert here in terms of how Medicaid expansion, my apologies to each and every one of you for this dilemma. We've had technical difficulties here. Want to honor your time and just encourage you as we're closing out here. We promised to be an hour and a half. I do want to honor your time. Thank you for the three who have stayed. I want to encourage you to contact your representatives, to think about the big picture, and to realize that whether it's via Facebook, which Michelle talked about earlier, Lisa talked about earlier, that your experience, your story has a purpose, it has an impact. There are methods that you can take that are going to allow you to continue going forward, and use your story, the experience of your own children, to make a difference. And here I want to be very frank. There is something uniquely powerful. Each one of you in this group were chosen because, and in fact, principally because you have had difficulties with children. And for whatever reason, in the American psyche, there is a value placed on the life and opportunity presented by children. And so sharing the challenges that many of you are understanding in the American public, that when children are not able to, and young people who have life in front of them, for whatever reason, it seems like it's more difficult for us as a society to move when it's the elder among us who are struggling with healthcare. But for each of you who have the Parents Advocacy Network to inspire you. I know we are a few minutes over. The rest of the presentation, just so that you know, is about social media coverage, what it looks like, how you can create a Facebook group. Of people who, Instagram is also a really, really great platform. Twitter does the same thing, but again, sharing these stories, this is our objective. This is our hope for each of you. And I want to thank the three of you ladies who are still left. Michelle, are you still there? I think Michelle may be gone as well. So we are incredibly grateful to Michelle, to Lisa, we are incredibly grateful to Michelle and Lisa.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Michelle.
Yes. Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, yes, okay, great. Michelle, what are the thoughts that you have here as
we can we get all this good information that you have on this, all this about stories and the social media and everything? Can you email that to us? Or?
Yes. I'll be. This should be. I'm praying it's all recorded. We've had it. It's pressed record. With the losing of the Wi-Fi, I have to go back.
Okay.
And see, but it should be recorded. Everything from your presentation to Lisa's. I know in the beginning I was recording. I hope here in the end But we'll be sharing this out to the mothers who came in and out throughout the entire time.
Okay.
We had mothers come in, mothers come out. So
Good.
yeah, but at our peak, we're at a very good number, about 13, 14. So we're happy
Oh,
about that.
great.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're
Yes.
happy about that.
Okay.
We're unable to sort of transition everyone on so that we could really interact. So miss that, but we're happy to have a good number of mothers here and mothers who submitted questions as well.
Yes.
So as we're
Great.
closing, we don't have the same numbers that we had, but we're happy. We are happy everyone was able to at least make this a little bit better than our last session. Thank you all for participating. This session happened at this time because we got in contact with you and you said we could do Tuesday morning. And if we had listened to what we thought was best, we would have done, Wednesday evening or Thursday evening. But I want to thank each of you who responded to us, responded to our phone calls and emails and said, no, Tuesday morning actually works for me. So that is really, really, that's why we're here now. Many thanks to Michelle and Lisa who came in and spoke. And Michelle, you're here, and I just want to say on behalf of Tennessee Justice Center, my prayer is that for you is that your experience will be of use not just to us at TJC, and we do cherish you, we value you, but I believe that God has placed you on this earth to really, really make an impact in a way that I don't think you can even imagine yet. So every time that you share, it touches me. It touched me now today as it did when you spoke in our original follow-up back in early October. And just on behalf of the Tennessee Justice Center, I have to say thank you. Thank you for all that you've done for us. For each of our mothers that are still here, thank you all for staying with us despite the technical difficulties. We really appreciate it. This, as I said, we hope is a catalyst, a beginning and not an end. And we really, really are looking forward to taking each mother's experience here, every opportunity, leveraging this forward, because we really do believe that with us, and I do mean this, it's going to be with us through concerned, engaged, experienced mothers like yourselves who've been in these situations and had to overcome the obstacles, that we can really, really get the health care that each of us deserve as a right, and not just as something that has to be earned. So that's our fight. We're grateful to each of you who stayed with us again for all of this. I'm going to work to get the recordings together. I know it's been at this point, it's been pretty different, and I am praying that I didn't lose it in losing my connection.
The sound kind of went down and it
hope
sounds
to get
like
this
it's our
back out
screen.
to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
So